What's up guys, Rab here from Rabtastic Paints. Just about recovered from my very first MESBG gaming tournament. This weekend past I attended the Ambush At Ayr, a 2-day event with 6 games. Having never played a single game of MESBG before this, I was pretty nervous and maybe a little bit unprepared, but the tournament was fantastic. It was so much fun. Everyone was really helpful, really friendly, just a bunch of great guys, and the tournament was very well run, and pretty much went off without a hitch. Some games ran over a little bit, but apart from that, excellently run, and everyone was incredibly forgiving, especially to a brand new player. Now unfortunately I didn't get much game footage because I was quite nervous. I didn't want to be that brand new guy that came and recorded every single thing. I also I couldn't multitask. I was far too engrossed in what I was doing, and it was taking up far too much brain power that I just plain forgot to film footage most of the time. But to be expected at my first tournament. I think in future I'm going to bring like a tripod, set the camera up, and then try and forget about it. So I've got some footage, I've got some just regular old vlogging footage, and there's going to be a lot of me talking and explaining how the games went and what happened, so hope you enjoy. With Jade's dad living in Ayr, she decided to accompany me for the weekend, and given the recent heatwave in Scotland, it was a pretty good decision. We took in some of the sights of Ayr on the Friday night and visited family before heading down to the beach. Unfortunately, however, we were there to take care of some sad business. Sadly, back in February we lost our family dog Kipper. Kipper was my sister's dog, but for the last couple of years he'd lived with myself and Jade, and before that he lived with me and my dad. Kipper was 14, so he'd lived a grand old age, but as he started to get older, he preferred to live with us because it was quieter. My sister has 4 kids, and as much as he loved the boys, he loved just lying on the couch and sleeping with us, so it will always be a great honour to myself and Jade that my sister was okay with us looking after her dog that she'd had for most of her adult life, and it was a great honour that he chose to live with us. He could have happily stayed at my dad's or at his own owners, my sister, but no, he would scratch and pee and poo until he got let to come stay with us. He just loved staying with me and Jade. It was his place. He's chilled, relaxed, and he had every whim catered for. He was spoilt rotten. Kipper loved the beach, and Jade and I always said we would take him down to the beach. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance this year, so we decided to take a trip down to the beach and spread his ashes. So we did that on the Friday night. So a bit of a quiet, solemn night, but something that we had to do. That was our gift to Kipper, our last wee trip to the beach. After a nervous sleep, I was ready to roll on day 1 of my first ever gaming tournament. Day 1 of the Ambush At Ayr tournament. I'm heading into town. I have my croissant. I am still pretty nervous. It's obviously not just my first Lord of the Rings tournament, my first gaming tournament, full stop, so yeah, I don't quite know what to expect. I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to fuck up, but I know the guys that are there, and I know they're pretty cool guys, so I know they'll look after me. I'm still pretty nervous though, so heading through. We had a lovely night last night in the hotel, nice chilled night down at the beach, saw Jade's dad and stepmum, so good start to the weekend. The weather's held out, although when we got off the train yesterday it immediately started raining, and I felt bad for all the people that came down here for a beach weekend. I think they're expecting thunderstorms today. The traffic just picked up, so you can't hear me. I think we're expecting thunderstorms today, but I'm going to be locked in a room for like the next 10 hours, so it's going to be hot. It's going to be very hot. Right, vlog over. Once I got to the venue, I had plenty of time to register, look around at all the incredible armies and scenery and tables, introduce myself to everyone. Not this guy, obviously, I know who he is and he knows who I am. and then I got to find out which table I would be playing my first game on, and as you can see, it was a little bit wet. So before I get into the actual games themselves, let's talk about the tournament. Ambush At Ayr is a 2-day event with 6 games, and it's an escalation event, so it's 2 at 350, 2 at 650 and 2 at 950. I took my Mordor army led by Gothmog, and here is my 350 list which I used for the first day, and here is the list of my first opponent, Chris. Now I know Chris from our comings and goings together in JMax Discord, and he is a great guy. He's very friendly and he helped me out an awful lot in my first game. So my army, I took Gothmog with 3 Morannons with shield and spear, 3 Morannons with shield and 2 Morannons with no other gear. My second warband was Shagrat with his heavy armour and the shield of Serfungal, 4 Orc Warriors with shields and 2 Orc Trackers, so I at least had some ranged attacks. Chris's army, well, I thought it was a strange pick, but compared to some other armies I saw over the weekend, it's not that strange. We took the White Council, we took Saruman with horse and allied them into the army of Laketown. The first warband we had the Master, 3 Laketown Guard with bow and spear, 2 Laketown Guard with spear and 4 Laketown Guard. Warband 2 had Alfred along with 3 Laketown Guard with bow and spear, 1 Laketown Guard with spear and 4 Laketown Guard, so more shooting than me, and actually had more models than me, so straight away I didn't have my Mordor army bonus of +1 courage and +1 fight, +1 wounds, +1 to wounds. I cannot remember. Reroll ones? I should probably know this. I don't. I just checked it. Mordor warriors have +1 courage and reroll wounds when striking to wound. The scenario that we were playing was Command the Battlefield. Now in Command the Battlefield you get points for having more units than your opponent in each quarter of the field, not counting a large sort of no man's land in the middle area. So each quarter, more units than your opponent, more points. Now the other part of the game or the scenario is that depending on your role when you want to bring your warband in, your opponent may get to choose where they go instead. Now that was very good for me because I managed to get both of, or sorry, 2 out of 3 of Chris's warbands. I managed to deploy Saruman over here by himself, and the Master here split up from Saruman. He got his 3rd warband in here, and I managed to get mine. Let's just change the colour over. I got mine here, and I think Chris put mine here. I'm going to go with that because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. We got it over there. So straight away I had managed to isolate his most threatening character, Saruman, over on the right of the map by himself. However, he was on horse, so was faster than any of my foot troops. Now my plan from the start was to leave a little orc around about here just to move over here when it was safer and really concentrate on this half of the board, the left hand of the board. So I moved this Gothmog's unit up here and Shagrat's unit down here to try and pincer his units in and really force him to make a choice about where he was going. His 3rd warband, Alfred's warband, managed to get over as well and help support. I think they might have actually been closer than I was, but I can't remember. Managed to get in and sort of outnumber him, so I was holding this quarter for most of the game, and Saruman was really jumping between the two of them whilst Chris's units held down the fort. So he was controlling this half of the board really, whereas I was really making moves into this half. Saruman later came over once Shagrat had sort of closed the pincer. Saruman came over and transfixed him because Shagrat was a big hitter and he didn't want him to really start killing off any of his generals. He got the first transfix. On the next current turn he cast transfix again on a 6. I rolled a 6 to resist it and keep my will. On the 3rd turn he rolled a 6 to transfix. I rolled a 6 to resist it again, and this continued. I rolled 3 6s and a 5 to resist 4 out of 5 of Saruman's attempted transfixes on Shagrat, and I think this is what led me to winning the game. Really was just great dice rolls, something that wouldn't continue for the rest of the tournament. But yeah, rolling 3 6s against 3 6s to transfix and refund my will points, that was another bonus that I'd totally forgotten about. If you roll a 6, a natural 6, to resist a magic spell or effect, you get your will point back. So Shagrat, who didn't have 5 will, managed to keep rolling, so that was great. Managed to get some good kills in there and really whittle down his numbers and keep a unit spare to go over here. Towards the end of the game, Chris peeled a couple of units back to take this top quarter, but by the end of it I had 3/4 to his 1, and the game ended with a score of, let me just double check because I'd written it down, and this is why I'm not a good YouTuber. Right, don't take a guess, Robert, that's why you wrote it down. I finished the game, I'm pretty 100% sure, with a 5-3 victory. Again, probably undeserved. Chris is one of the top players of Scotland, and he was far too generous with his time, helping me play the game and learn the game. So hats off, thank you so much, Chris. I really enjoyed my first game, and it is something that really stuck with me for the rest of the weekend. How helpful you were, and how much you sacrificed potentially winning the game yourself to assist me. I look forward to playing you again, and hopefully you don't go as easy on me this time. After the first game, I had plenty of time to chill, decompress, check out some of the other amazing tables on display ahead of my Game 2 matchup against Hamish, a fellow shagger from JMax Discord. So first 2 games against people that I actually knew. So Hamish's army was a lot simpler. It was simply Treebeard with Merry and Pippin and Gwahir. I would later find out that Gwahir was a little bit OP for Retrieval, given that he has fly and is nigh impossible to kill. I struggled. I got a couple of lucky wounds on with some archers, if you believe it or not, but no, this entire match was a struggle. So the game board was not set up like this, it was actually flipped, but then it would be backwards, so that's how it looked. I started off, let me just get my wee pen out again. I started off my warband down here, that's not a pen. I started off with my warband down here, and Hamish set up both his Treebeard and his Gwahir up here. Gwahir immediately flew down and landed upon some very tall scenery over there, which I couldn't get to. I kept Shagrat at home, and I sent Gothmog out to attempt to retrieve. He was either going to hold off Gwahir, hopefully long enough that we could kill him, or get Shagrat into the double team, and then potentially go up and retrieve the prize itself. But I was really more interested in keeping half my force at home to stop him getting in. It didn't really work, and there was a huge let's just make that a bit brighter. There was a huge clash in here that resulted in most of my army getting killed, including my leader, which lost me a bunch of victory points, and they actually ended up being broken as well, so that was not fun. Gwahir then came in to mop up. Shagrat held the ground to try and keep him from getting the token, the relic, sorry. But of course, Gwahir, can fly, so he literally just flew circles around him, grabbed it, and with the last turn managed to get back into his half of the board, securing him even more victory points. I think it was like an 11-0 loss I took. Yeah, I struggled that one there. That was a tough match, especially after the happiness of the first match. After game 2, we broke for lunch, and I got to chill with the guys, get to know some of them, and talk tactics, learn where I went wrong and what I can potentially do in future to stop myself from making the same mistakes. It was a good time to just decompress and chill. Game 3 would be going up to 650 points each, so my 650 list was as follows. I got a warg for Gothmog, as well as some extra units and a banner. Shagrat's units pretty much all turned into mounted versions of themselves, so got orc trackers with wargs, and 4 warg riders, 2 with throwing spears and 2 with shield. In fact, all 4 had shield actually. I then got my third warband led by Gorbag, which included a Mordor troll, so I was hoping I'd be quite heavy hitting as well as quite mobile. The gentleman I was going up against was Stuart, and he brought his elves, including Elrond and Elendil as part of his second warband, so kind of similar to the last alliance but not quite. He had a lot of bows, which would prove to be the deciding factor in this game. We deployed at opposing sides of the board, myself here and Stuart back over around about here-ish, and Stuart immediately moved backwards. He moved all his elves backwards, knowing they could still pepper my orcs as they had to come chasing after them. I sent a detachment here around some scenery to try and sort of bunny hop between them and not get hit. It didn't really do too well, but managed to eventually tie some up here. I got a kill with a rogue unmanned warg who had the rider shot off and still managed to charge into battle and kill an elf, but around here was where everything sort of went wrong for me. I charged my troll in, hoping to really tie up as many units as possible, but Stuart raced out Elrond and Elendil to 2-on-1 my troll and pretty much chew him up in one turn of combat. Gothmog came in to try and back him up, but it was too little too late. Gothmog's Master Battle really did come in handy, as he continued to be able to just reuse and copy all of the heroics that had been called, so that was pretty decent. I managed to get some use out of that, but just couldn't compete with those high fight value elves. And that was something I learned. As fun as Mordor is, playing that low fight value can really suck when you're playing some tough armies. I think the game ended on like a 12-0 loss for me. Stuart handily tripled my wound count, which gave him extra victory points. I didn't really manage to get much done. It was a bit of a suckfest for me, but great game. One I look forward to doing again. I think I'd really enjoy Lords of Battle with a slightly more mobile and maybe shootier army, but no, great fun playing and I fairly enjoyed it. With game 3 over and starting to feel like my beginner's luck had run out, I was ready for game 4, the final game of the day, before we go out and get some food and drink. So I was playing against Joseph and his last alliance. He had Gil-galad and Isildur leading a veritable army of elves and men. I was glad to see some more men, given that my the Gothmog gives hatred man to 3 inches around him, so +1 to wound. I was hoping I would maybe be able to do some damage against them, but yeah, I'll let you know how that one turned out. For capture and control, you earn victory points for holding each of the objective markers. There are 5 in total, 1 bang in the middle and 4 each compass point around them. I deployed the majority of my force here on the one under my control, with some smatterings here and here, and Joseph did the same. He pretty much held all of that and sent these guys out. So from what I remember, because I said it was a very long day and at this point I was physically and mentally exhausted, I charged the main strength of my force, including Gothmog, up to the middle to try and meet his main head on. I moved some of my faster models, the warg riders, up here to hopefully take this one, and the stronger ones, including my troll, up here to try and take this one. This is immediately where my troll ran into some danger, as Gil-galad and Isildur came out to fight him head on. So in the previous game he fought Elrond and Elendil, in this one Gil-galad and Isildur.
Out of the frying pan and into the fire.
So once the battle really started, I was very outnumbered over here with his 2 incredibly powerful heroes, killing my troll almost instantly. Most of the fighting was in here. I got some lucky hits in, but unfortunately, even with the hatred of man, those higher fight value elves and men were mopping me up. And over here, my warg raiders didn't do much else either. I was really struggling to inflict any wounds and really hold some ground. Over time, even managed to get some cavalry around and sneak into where I started to take this objective marker here as well, and leaving me really only holding the middle. I still managed to get 2 victory points for one of those, but eventually my army was broken, and on a roll of a dice the game was over, leaving me with a substantial loss. That was the last game of the day, and to be honest, I was still incredibly happy. I could have lost all 4 games. I didn't. I managed to win one, however, and I would have still been happy. So I went out for dinner and drinks with the guys and Jade in great spirits. I was very pleased with the day and incredibly happy in general. For game 5, we were up to 950 points, so we got our full army, which brought me up to 5 warbands. I brought in an orc shaman, a Moranan orc captain, also brought in a drummer who is on warband 1 with Gothmog to hopefully help with mobility, and I brought in a bunch of regular orcs just to pad out the numbers, bring me up to a massive 56 units in total. Unfortunately, I was up against Siraj and Moria, who also had exactly 56 units, so I would not be getting my army bonus unless I started chipping away at his numbers, and even then it wouldn't be hard for him to bring it back. So it was a constant battle of who could kill more to keep me from getting my army bonus. He brought a lot of goblins and the dreaded Watcher in the water. For assassination, this is probably the best unit that I can think of anyway, because when he deploys, you can deploy him anywhere and he is absolutely lethal. I'm not saying that I had bad luck with the scenarios, but playing against the Watcher in Assassination and playing against Gwahir in Retrieval and against a couple of elf armies, especially in Lord's Battle, yeah, I think I had some rough luck. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong and if I'm just complaining, but yeah, this was a tough one. It was a great game though, and it's an incredibly painted army he's got, especially his custom made and painted Watcher in the Water. For Assassination, you choose an assassin. I chose Shagra as he was probably my biggest hitter, and you choose a target. I chose Groblog, who gives a passive +1 fight to goblins around him, so I thought 2 birds 1 stone, he'd probably be the easiest of the lot to kill, and it would help me as well. I made an educated guess that Siraj was going to choose the Watcher as his assassin, and I guessed that he would maybe choose my Shaman as his target because he's probably my weakest out of the lot of them. But like I said, the game as it unfolded was really both of us sort of fighting over the middle area. There was a large area of water in the middle of the map, yeah, it's called a map. Large area of water, which I probably should have avoided because the Watcher is stronger in the water, obviously, which is why I kept my Shaman down here, making that educated guess that that's who he would pick to kill. Marched everyone else up, literally marched them up, and it was just a battle line across the entire middle of the army. I got my troll in and I got a nice hurl to push some back, and he had some really tricky bat swarms that I was wanting to get rid of, because I know that if he managed to pull one of my heroes in and got a bat swarm on them, they'd be in serious trouble. So I was trying to get in the back to get these bats are back here. Shagrat was trying to push his way through to Groblog, who was hanging out at the back of the map. I was really just trying to get all my orcs to clear a little path here so he could potentially heroic combat through and get into him, but unfortunately I really never got a chance. He had a lot of models, and his models were trapping mine very successfully, and they get +2 to wound, I believe some of them do, when they trap my model, so he was really killing me as fast as I was killing him, which is great fun. Siraj then decided to row for the Watcher to come in. He fluffed the first row, which probably just as well for me, but he did come in on the second round, and he came in directly on top of my Morannon Orc Captain. He rolled a 6, so the Watcher rolls a d6, and that's how many attacks he gets. Maximum of 6 when he's full wounds, because he has 6 tentacles, and he managed to roll a 6 and laid out my Morannon Orc Captain on 2 attacks. Unfortunately, turns out my Morannon Orc Captain was his target the whole time, so I probably shouldn't have had him standing in the middle of the water. With his remaining attacks, he also managed to kill Gothmog as well, so that was 2 of my heroes in 1 turn of attacks with the Watcher. Not long after that, the game ended, and due to time, actually, I think we ran out of time. We had so many models each, try and move them up and get all the movement and shooting, because we did actually have quite a bit of shooting. I think I had 6 shooting models, and he had quite a few archers as well, who were sitting up in sort of positions up here and here, and it really was just a sort of back and forth sniper match at one point over here. So by the time the Watcher actually came in, he only got 1 turn, and then the game was over. Teal came and ended the game. Literally the last turn, he managed to kill his target with his assassin and beat me outright. Unfortunately, I made that educated guess that the shaman would have been his target, and I was wrong. It was a Morannon Orc Captain. But great fun game, very fun army to play against. The goblins, there were so many of them, and it was actually quite equal, with the fight value being lower than me for once. Siraj was a great opponent, very kind, helped me out a lot as well, showed me some good positioning, how to trap models myself, so greatly appreciative of that. That was me, 1 and 4 for the weekend, 1 and 4 for the weekend, and on to the final game, where I will be battling it out for the wooden spoon. That's right, my first tournament, and I potentially was going to win a prize. Not exactly the prize I was hoping for, but before that, it was time for the painting contest, and of course, the clues in the name, I was going to enter a model. There were some absolutely fantastic models on display for the best painted competition, and I got to just look around and see the effort that some people put into their armies and be blown away. It really gave me a bit of a buzz to get back to my desk and do some painting. Gave me some ideas for what models I want to paint next, maybe what armies I want to start working on next. It really sort of revitalised my love of painting. Not that it ever went away, but I'd been so concentrated on the rules and on gaming that I really hadn't painted anything that wasn't sort of slapped together or speed painted, and in the last little while I've been so concentrated on the actual gaming side of it. But yeah, got to chill for a wee hour whilst the judges decided, and just recuperate after the weekend before moving on to the last game, where I'll be battling it out for the wooden spoon. So for the 6th and final game, I was up against Andrew and his Fangorn army, which consisted of Treebeard, with Mighty Pippin, Quick Beam, and 5 Ents. So I knew from the start I was going to outnumber them all times, so I'd always get my army bonus, which would be really useful because all of the Ents cause terror, and Orcs are not exactly the most brave of units in this, but that +1 would come into great effect, especially when I've got my Shaman as well, who can cast Fury, which means all Orcs in a 6-inch circle around him automatically pass courage test, so that would really help me get my models into his Ents, and then hopefully start doing some damage. So for Fog of War, you secretly note down one of your heroes, it's not your leader. You note down one of your opponent's heroes, it's not their leader, and you note down a terrain piece, and you get victory points for surviving, killing their one, and claiming the terrain piece. So I chose Gorbag to survive, because he had not done much and he was not going to be much use, because he wouldn't be outnumbered which is where he really shines. So I chose for him to survive. I chose to kill Quickbeam because he was the only choice I had. We only had 2 heroes, Treebeard and Quickbeam, and I can't choose Treebeard. I think I could have chose Mary or Pippin, but I would have had to kill Treebeard to get to Mary and Pippin, or hope that they dismounted, which they don't have to do. And I chose a terrain piece just up here. It was a little house up at the back here to get to. However, I was completely wrong, because I actually did not choose Gorbag. I just I fluffed. I wrote in my book, I wrote the note that I had chosen the shaman who was going to be in the middle of everything, because I needed his fury to enable my orcs to charge. So I was completely wrong, and I potentially had lost the game before I'd even made my first move. Speaking of moves, I called some heroic moves and used my drum and used my cavalry to pretty much get everyone up the board as fast as possible, and get them sort of stop his army moving, because bear in mind he only had 7 total models. It was really to just overwhelm them and stop them from getting to potentially one of the terrain pieces down here that they had nominated. We got into some pretty meaty fighting. My troll actually managed to be useful and got behind their lines and helped trap some of their ents along here. The first casualty of the game was, fun enough, Quickbeam, so I knew straight away that I was going to have some points on the board. Quickbeam fell to the troll at the back, and I believe it was Gothmog and Shagrat at the front. No, sorry, not Shagrat, was over here, so it was Gothmog and some other orcs. Treebeard was here and got into fight with Shagrat. Mary had came down to try and kill a warg who had been, the rider had been knocked off the warg, so there's a warg running about with some extra movement around here. Mary came down to kill him. It was actually eaten by the warg. I didn't tell Jade that I killed both Mary and later on Pippin, who had fallen off. I killed Treebeard. Rolled a 1 for his fall test, didn't take damage however, but was knocked prone and was outnumbered by Shagrat and the boys in here. So I'd managed to kill all of his heroes, 4 of them, in just a handful of turns. I then set about trying to secure my position up here and stop any of his guys getting down to one of the terrain pieces here. So we're fighting away. Andrew called some great plays, including I don't know what the name for it is, the end one where they pick up one of their models and pretty much smash every model around it. He used that to great effect to actually kill Gothmog and just clear out my numbers, and he eventually started getting one of his models heading down here, where I assumed his terrain piece that he was trying to capture was down here. So I managed to get down here. Unfortunately for me at this point, he was broken and I was not, but the game just wouldn't end. You roll at the beginning of every turn or the end of every turn, I can't remember, to end the game, and the game just would not end, and I was praying that the game would end before he got down here and potentially took one of my pieces or killed one of my models. Gorbag sat here and did nothing the entire game, didn't even move. I thought about moving him out here to try and catch this ent, stop him moving, but I really just need him to survive. Well, I thought I needed him to survive, turns out I didn't, and he was wasted the entire game. So eventually they did get a model down here and got to claim this terrain piece. My one model that I left up here to claim the terrain piece that I was going after fled when my army was broken, so all I really had was the quick beam kill, and I was slowly but surely actually come close to losing the game. Eventually, however, I did get lucky and the game ended on a roll of 1 and I would win. Shocked I was, winning 2 games, my first ever tournament, but yeah, I couldn't get over it. I was just elated that I managed to scrape a couple of victories together, first game and last game. However, I was quite upset that I missed out on the wooden spoon, otherwise I would have had a prize to take home with me, and it would have made for a much funnier video, I'm going to assume, as well, and something to hang up on the wall. With all the games done and out of the way, it was time to watch the triumphant winners pick up their well-deserved prizes, and then Jade and I headed for the train to wave goodbye to Ayr. And then it was only a matter of a couple of trains home where we could unpack our bags and lie down. All in, just a great event. I had so much fun this weekend. I've still got such a smile on my face from it. I could have lost all 6 games and I think I would still be smiling. Even Jade, who wasn't really there for the tournament, she was down there to spend the weekend seeing her dad and family and get away with a bit of sun. She really enjoyed it. She enjoyed meeting everyone, talking to everyone. Everyone was super nice to her, and me especially as well, of course. Everyone was very accommodating to a brand new player who barely knew the rules. So I cannot thank all the guys that were there enough. To Jamie, who hosted the event, thank you so much, mate. That was a fantastic event, and I'll certainly be there next year. To Robert from Dominion Games, who hosted the event, thank you so much, mate. Your shop is fantastic, and I look forward to popping in next time I'm in town to hopefully buy some stuff as well. To everyone that's watched this far in the video, thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit subscribe and come check me out next video. Until then, take care.